stop everything you're doing because leakers on duty, well, just leak the COD Mobile Season 5 2025 patch notes, and trust me, this isn't just a few tweaks. This might be a huge shakeup, especially for one gun we've all been waiting on for 3 long years, and by we, I mean me. Yes, you heard that right. We're diving into the full multiplayer breakdown today, every buff, every nerf, and what it actually means for your loadouts, and the upcoming rank reset right before Stage 2 kicks off. If you want to dominate next season and not get left behind using last season's trash, you need to see this. First up, the buff that could redefine Flex AR in COD Mobile. After nearly 3 years of that wild, unpredictable recoil, boys, the Peacekeeper has officially received a horizontal recoil buff. Yes, the gun we've called the best Flex AR if you can control its recoil, the one that's been a running gag in the comments, it's finally happened. Now, the patch notes don't really paint the full picture, whether it's a full pattern rework or just how much they've tamed that horizontal recoil. But here's what this could mean. If this buff is significant, the Peacekeeper, with its already insane mobility and deadly time to kill with the right attachments, might just skyrocket back into the meta. We're talking a potential top tier AR that can outmaneuver SMGs and still deal significant damage. We'll be sure to look at this, and you better believe we'll talk about it in the next top 10 video. But the ARs aren't the only ones getting a serious glow up this season. Aggressive SMG players, listen up, because the SX9 just got 2 huge buffs that could make it a top contender. First up, they've buffed that stomach shot multiplier from 0.9x all the way to a clean 1x. What does that mean for you? More consistent 4-shot kills in that critical 13.5 to 23 meter range. No more annoying hit markers when you know your aim was on point. And if that wasn't enough, the skeleton stock attachment now gives a beautiful 3% buff to all movement speed. That brings us to a 4.5 meters per second strafe speed here, letting you absolutely dance around your opponents. Put these together, and the Switchblade X9 is looking like a really viable, potentially even competitive, option for hyper-aggressive players. Keep an eye on this one, it could be a meta dark horse. Next up on the watch out meta list is an AR that many have dismissed, the LK24. It just received 2 critical buffs that address its biggest weaknesses and could make it incredibly versatile. First, its base BSA has been massively improved, dropping from 16 down to a crazy 12. Why is this huge? It means the LK24 will be a laser beam by default, allowing you to stack way more mobility and speed enhancing attachments without turning it into a spray and pray machine. This makes it far more flexible for different playstyles and much more forgiving if your first few shots aren't dead on. But that's not all. They also boosted its stomach shot multiplier from 1x to 1.1x. Translation, its 4-shot kill consistency in that crucial second damage range just went through the roof. You'll practically have to be aiming at their ankles to get a 5-shot kill now. This means more reliable takedowns and a much more dependable time to kill. With these changes, the LK24 isn't just better. It could be a really good, highly adaptable AR for players who value both accuracy and aggressive potential. Now, this next one is interesting. The MX9 received what looks like a minor buff on paper, but trust me, the effect could be huge for the SMG meta. They've given every single damage range on the MX9 a plus 3 meter boost. That might not sound like a lot, but it pushes its effective range much closer to heavy hitters like the SX9 and the Fennec. Now, here's the thing. The MX9 already has significantly better mobility than many of those CQC SMGs. So, more range plus superior movement? That's a scary combo, but there's always a catch, right? The big question for the MX9 is attachments. To get its absolute peak performance, especially with that extended barrel, you often have to leave the suppressor. Now, for many, that's a deal breaker, but as we've seen in competitive play, think Prime MX9, Locus, even the Rytec sometimes, top players often go loud. Good comms mean a suppressor isn't always essential at the highest levels. Sticking with SMGs for a moment, this next buff is for a gun many of us wrote off a long time ago. Get ready for the return of the KSP-45. The devs are literally trying to pull this burst SMG back from the grave. Now, the leaked patch notes mention a significant range buff, and while they're not giving us all the specific numbers just yet, the implication is clear. The KSP-45 is being tuned to be usable again. We all remember the prime era KSP-45 back in 2022. That thing was a monster with its unique burst fire. If you loved the feel of the KSP back in the day, this buff means it's definitely time to give it another shot. It could surprise a lot of people who aren't expecting it. Okay, let's talk about a big shift for your secondary weapons, especially if you're a sniper. The machine pistol is taking a hit, while the LCAR-9 gets a little love. First, the LCAR-9. It's getting a slight range buff and a small improvement to its ADS time. On their own, these are nice little tweaks, but not enough to make it a solo star. But pair that with the nerfs to the machine pistol. While a tiny increase to sprint to fire delay on the short barrel is minor, the real hit comes to that popular 7.62 40 round mag. The leg shot multiplier is dropping from 1x down to 0.9x. It means that consistent 6-shot kill you relied on in the second range, it's gone if you hit 2 leg shots. You're now looking at a 7-shot kill unless you're hitting the head. This makes it significantly less reliable for finishing off opponents quickly. Considering the machine pistol with that specific mag has been the go-to secondary for snipers and a staple in competitive play, yeah, we're not talking about the D13, this targeted nerf, alongside the LCAR-9's gentle push, could genuinely open the door for new secondary options. Alright, we just covered the biggest game-changing stuff for Season 5. But there are still more key weapon changes to get through. Real quick, these might not be the changes everyone's talking about first, but one of these smaller buffs could give you a secretly powerful setup, or make an old gun you loved usable again. First up, the M13 gets a small but smart change to its heavy long barrel attachment. This barrel used to make you strafe much slower, with a big 15% penalty. Now, that penalty is cut way down to just 5%. But this is a good buff for this attachment. What this means is using the heavy long barrel with the .300 mags, which give you much more range, is now a better idea. You won't lose as much mobility for that extra range. The ASM-10 sees 2 attachment buffs that might make it feel a bit quicker to use. The Branson barrel now makes your ADS speed only a tiny bit slower than before, a 2% improvement to its old penalty. And if you use the no stock attachment, when you get hit, you won't flinch as much. That penalty is cut in half. That's a nice change for winning more gunfights. Now for real, these buffs won't probably make the ASM-10 a top meta gun. It's still one of these slower ARs. But if you love how the ASM-10 feels, these changes make it easier to use and a more fun choice. Some good news for an AR many people gave up on, the Type 25. It got a bunch of nice buffs that might finally stop it from being the worst AR in the game. First, its BSA was improved. It also got a little flinch reduction, but the biggest help for control is a really good improvement to its horizontal recoil when using the extended barrel attachment. That should make it easier to control in longer fights. Oh, and a tiny buff to the tactical foregrip A, but honestly you're probably not using that attachment anyway. Overall, these are solid changes that could make the Type 25 surprisingly good and easier to handle. Definitely worth trying again. Now, this next one for the FR556 is a bit confusing. Its damage range has been made much longer. It used to be 0, 26, 33 meters for its damage to drop. Now it's 0, 30, 40 meters. With the right attachments, this could give the FR556 a crazy good 4-shot kill all the way up to 43.5 meters. That's super far. But let's be real, even with this buff, it's probably still not good enough to fight the best ARs. The range got a lot better, but we'll have to see if that's enough. Remember the MSMC? This OG gets a little love. Marksman barrel ADS penalty is down from 15% to 10%. But honestly, most of us probably don't use attachment on the MSMC. What's better are 2 movement speed buffs, a slight base movement speed bump, and a better strafe speed buff. From 4.11 meters per second to a quicker 4.31 meters per second. Not world changing, but that extra agility is a nice little boost for fans of this classic SMG. Next, the M1 Garand. Its range profile gets a plus 2 meter extension on each damage range, so it hits a bit further. However, the main issue with the M1 Garand isn't really range, it's the base damage. This buff is welcome, but likely won't make a huge difference until damage is addressed. And finally, if you use the Akimbo perk on your MW11s, your hipfire spread is now 15% tighter.